You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the July 8th meeting for the Long Beach Budget and Finance Committee. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Welcome everyone to the budget meeting. We had changed our meeting to this date so that we could accommodate and go over the department budgets with department heads. So that is our agenda for the day. We have in order, thanks to Mark for putting together. And our first person up is Larry Wall for the building department. Thanks, Larry.
They either scoot up to the table area or the podium, either one.
Yeah, or if you want to sit. Yeah.
Thanks, Meg. So our budget for the building department pretty much stayed the same as I submitted last year. It's a little different from what was approved from last year. And I noted in the email that I sent to everyone, or to the Budget and Finance Committee, what I included for the administrative assistant for all three departments. As you know, I am responsible for the building. Under my direction is the building commission, building department, the MS4 department, and the floodplain department. So as I mentioned, those numbers all stayed the same. I had included this year full-time hours for the administrative assistant for, I split it into the two departments as you have it on your sheets, but that's in reality, that's for all three departments that I'm responsible for. You will notice that in Meg sent out the financials for, I believe it was June of this year. And we haven't spent our education and training money. Those are all due. They'll come probably either today or tomorrow in the invoice that I send Meg and the town, which are our annual ICC subscription for the codes, our Indiana Floodplain Association dues, our dues for the National Floodplain Association, and there will be a training for the state and actually federal government are requiring through the DNR require that the floodplain administrator have a CFM, which is certified floodplain manager. And in order to maintain our residents' availability to floodplain insurance, I had to be certified by June 30th of this year, which I did. And I sent that off to, I think Mark, Meg, and I don't remember who else I sent it to. I may have sent it to the entire town council. So we're all set there. We're good with our MS4 stuff. I don't know if you have any questions or if you want me to go through the line items. I forgot how this works.
I have glanced through them. And I think the wage part will be discussed.
Okay.
I know Trista, Mark, and I received your email. I think I responded to you. I am new to those items, newer to me. So I think Mark and Trista and I just need to discuss the avenues. Okay. And
sure.
I don't know. I don't think we need to discuss that today, probably, unless
okay.
you feel the need to.
No, pardon me. I have some information, but I can send it to you guys. Part of the email. I don't know how, I've never had to do that, to come to the town and ask for additional money for either an employee or the department. So I'm not really sure of that process. Whatever you guys tell me to do, I'll do.
Last year was the first year that we ask department heads to come meet with Budget Finance Committee and to have conversation about their budget and share maybe upcoming projects that were really important, or if there was an area that they had been underfunded in recent years. And likewise, some areas where maybe they had been given budget that they really didn't need. So let's make sure things are operating a little bit more efficiently. So today, just to have those conversations and get the ideas flowing, of course, the Budget Finance Committee will look through and make some hard decisions. This year we'll be faced with the new legislature from downstate. I'll go through and make some estimates on what we think that means for the town of Long Beach. You might survive a little bit better than some other towns and cities because you do have a large number of homes that are second homes for people. So the main deductions and credits that we're given are for homesteads as opposed to second homes or investment, which hopefully will help the town weather some of this a little bit better. So that just kind of gives a little bit more overview for the purpose today and getting some of the information shared.
One item in the stormwater, which is MS4, that's part of stormwater. And I know, and I think John might be able to speak to this a little better than I can. I know that the Stop 18 project not only consumed most of the storm, if not all of the stormwater budget from last year, and maybe a portion of this year's stormwater budget. In the MS4 side of the stormwater situation, we don't really have anything unless you want to contribute, or I shouldn't say contribute. The salt barn was an issue on our MS4 permit last year. That was really the only thing that we, outside of a spill containment box, which we bought the next day. The salt barn will come up again. Our permit will be renewed in 2026. And that will be another 5-year permit. And I know that there were some plans. I'm not sure how far it went with the salt barn, but that will come up again under the MS4. So that, and I think Trista, as soon as you mentioned about, anything coming up, that's the only thing that I'm aware of under the stormwater. I'm sure John and Mark on the Board of Works situation, you've got a lot of paving and a lot of drainage issues that really I'm not involved in, but I know the salt barn will come up.
So the state permitting for MS4 wants to see the salt barn to prevent contamination of salt into the water.
Right. That was part of, so the town's maintenance garage is under the MS4 for some reason, because the Tom's street superintendent duties include taking care of our 9 outfalls. So they inspect our maintenance garage, which is really the only hazardous area that the town owns. And the only black mark that we had, and it wasn't, and they understood that we were looking at it. We repaired the salt barn, but it's woefully inadequate for what the MS4 in the state wants. And I know that it came up. I just don't know where it's at.
Ironically, Tom and I met this morning and had discussed the salt barn in preparations for today's meeting. Tom's currently getting the yard back together after the most recent CCMG paving project because Reith Riley was utilizing our maintenance facility as their staging area for all the work that was done. So we're trying to get the yard back to where it was originally. And then we will be meeting with a contractor hopefully in the next several weeks to begin discussions again about a new salt barn. And then also part of that MS4 was also our fuel holding tanks over there, which we have replaced both of those. They are now doubled wall tanks with adequate gravel underneath those with a computerized fueling station as well. So those changes have been made, which will help with our permit. Because that was brought up before, was our fuel holding there as well. But definitely the salt barn is still on the horizon. I had shared with Meg this morning, if it's not the fall of this year construction, it'll definitely have to be the spring of 2026, depending on where the contractors can squeeze us in and where the price falls in as well.
So I don't have that in my budget is basically what I'm telling you guys. And I think that it could be pushed into that budget because it does fall under MS4 guidelines,
Mhm.
water guidelines.
The other thing, Trista, for us, just to kind of keep an eye out for 2026 going into 2027 for stormwater work will be Lakeshore Drive with the CCMG project. There will also be some stormwater infrastructure work that'll be done along the Lakeshore Drive corridor, specifically from stop 26 through 31. There's some areas we've got to address through there. And then I believe Tom's got a small area around stop 16 that needs to be addressed, or 15, stop 15 that needs to be addressed as well. And that'll be stormwater construction as part of CCMG.
Larry, so this year and last year, we have yet to put any expenses towards any of this MS4 stuff. So maybe you and I can get together and figure out, number one, have we had any costs and what types are they that I could start? And it's not the worst thing that we don't use, this money just goes back into the cash balance and leaves us more stormwater money towards the Lakeshore Drive paving project or the project Mark's describing right now. So the MS4 coordinator went up from 13 to 26. Remind me, I know with Reggie and she was getting a new job, and are we just not any anticipation
Right.
of utilizing that this year?
Well, that was, and Mark and I discussed this.
Okay.
And I think, I can't remember if I did with you individually, Meg, but we discussed it at the building commission meeting too.
Oh.
The situation with Reggie had an $18,000 contract 2 years ago. I think she used or the town paid her about $17,000. They wanted us to sign a contract, a time material contract with a not to exceed price of $40,000. And I just casually mentioned it to Mark during one of our conversations, and I didn't think that was right because there's no way that we would spend that amount of money. Now, next year in the 2026, I have, unfortunately, I don't have my glasses. In the stormwater, I think I have $12,000 for,
So there's MS4 coordinator and then there's the consulting engineer.
right. So the MS4 coordinator, that's me. And
Okay.
what I do with that, every month I attend either one or two webinars, which are required to keep up your certification.
Okay.
And I don't separate that time. I can separate that time for you so that if I think what I heard you say, Meg, is you'd like to start to use that. I don't know if you want to take it out of the building. A lot of it is still me. It's separated between those three departments, and I can do that.
Well, we have
because-
an option of, we could take a small percentage of your salary and put it here as
Sure.
well, but I can talk with Trista on that and
And that's
decide,
why
looking at
I
our
put
fund
the estimate
balance.
for the hours in there. The $13,000 is that would be for Reggie for next year. And our permit is going to become due next year. Our annual report, we've already filed for this past year. We'll file the other one at the end of the year, and I can do that. I can also do the renew our permit because we'll have to do another 5-year permit next year. But I just don't physically have the time to do that. So I think that's why I left the money in there for her. And her situation is she's going to leave this company.
Mm.
And I think they wanted to charge us, or the town was paying her for her time, $250 some an hour. And I said, Reggie, I don't think I would recommend that to the town. If she goes out on her own, which I just talked to her 2 weeks ago, the town may sign a not to exceed contract of, let's say, $10,000 or $12,000 with her, billed at $50 an hour or whatever. And then that will take care of our permit for next year. And that's why I put that money in there.
Okay.
That's helpful thing.
I think those were my only questions. If
Okay.
everyone can see that fourth page was Mark working on stormwater. The second page is Larry working on stormwater.
Yeah.
So that's what those are. Whereas number one is just the building commission department. Okay,
In 203, in their office supplies for building commission, Larry didn't have anything there. I would recommend.
I
at
would
least-
think we should add something. Yep.
I'd say at least 1,000 because we're often ordering supplies for honor or the building inspector and that. So I think $1,000 would be sufficient for the year.
Okay, I've got that in there. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
If it's about building, might as well.
Oh,
So if you look at 23 and 24, yeah.
yeah, so we gotta use a
So-
mic.
So John, we had, if you look at 23, almost a little over 17,000, 24 is over 18,000, so he's got it at 20. Yeah. That's kind of a cushion, I would say, in case you need it. Okay, thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
While you get situated, I need to. So the next page, so. Got a little question. Top right. So now we are, next on the list is Doug Wickstrom. Oh, no, Park Department. I tried to call Paul this morning. I have not heard from him or received his budget. So I'll give him a call. We're going to have to come back to that one. Maybe reschedule something with Parks. And then, so next would be Community Center, which is.
Oh, look, I picked it.
Turn those as you go.
Perfectly fine joke.
So the first line item code is 2501-555-209.
This one?
Yes, and there's a little question mark on the right.
Oh.
So Doug, if you want to head
Yeah, this was.
to the podium, and then if we have any questions. And actually.
Looks like on gas and electric, I think we recommended and Doug did raise that by 6,000 to 43,000. That correct, Doug?
Yes,
Especially after the advance notice we got from NIPSCO that electrical rates have gone up.
Mhm.
they're projecting, or the amount is around 16%. So we went back and applied that to the
Uh.
utility rates, and that's what drove this number.
Then water, we kept at 1250.
Yeah, in most of these, we either kept it exactly the same or added some assumption of a small amount for inflation.
And the maintenance went up to 18,000 from 16,650. Cleaning services has gone up. I know that, I see that in the invoices, so 7,500. Dumpster, we kept at 5,600, correct?
Yes,
Raised the maintenance on the HVAC to 5,000. Which honestly, that could even be higher because we do use that a lot.
yeah, we do have some money in the capital budget for that as well. So
Right. Then the miscellaneous went up from 8 to 9,000. Equipment from 4,000 increased to 5,000. Building improvements from 3,420 to 5,000.
So for this fund, those bottom at least two lines on the capital plan for this year, we had around 15,000 and change for capital. And those, the miscellaneous equipment and building improvements totaled that 15,000. So I think we need to discuss. It seems that that miscellaneous, some of that needs to stay as operational as opposed to capital. So because this fund is particular with the revenue stream from community center being on the lower end, I think I'm going to move capital expense out of here. So community center is allotted 100,000 in capital this year. It comes from other funds. That small portion of 15,000, which isn't small, but that comes out of the community center. So we can either adjust how much capital we're taking out of these lines, just ensuring that there's enough of that miscellaneous or for other expenses, everyday expenses. So right now, I think we will be short on budget this year if I don't move a capital expense out of either one of those lines, either building improvement or miscellaneous. So I think Tristan and I will just discuss that along with Mark. I had explained it to Doug. And again, this fund is unique because it is a lot of that capital, but it's not, most of it is not paid for out of this fund.
Okay.
Okay?
yeah, that generally the way it works for us, if something comes up, we talk with Mark and then Mark talks with you and you decide which fund it goes in. And so
Yep.
Is the center back up to full lease capacity?
No, there's one room still. And community center will lack the 12th next year, and the second half of this year will no longer receive the 1,000 a month from community or from building commission
Right.
because they are no longer storing their documents in that room. So just another that, cash flow will be a little lower.
we were talking about that in our meeting yesterday and last month and
Mhm.
going to get more aggressive. In the past, we've always seemed to have somebody step forward as soon as there was a rumor about an open space, and the people that stepped forward this time turned out couldn't work out. So we think we need to find somebody to go.
I have one interested client that I have to call back today that left a message for me yesterday.
Good.
She inquired about 6 weeks ago and she's just now getting back to me. So I'll update everybody once I speak with her to see if there's any potential there. I've already shown her room 3 once. So hopefully I can kind of convince her into moving into the space. So
And we do have some minor improvements that clean up that space that are already
approved.
agreements.
Yeah.
So
Community center team is trying, Trista.
No, I know.
Yeah, I know.
I know you are. I just wasn't sure. I hadn't asked anybody lately. So I
Yeah.
just didn't know what the status was.
I think we need to just look at the projection and see what our balance is with this budget and the rent that will no longer be coming in and see what we need to adjust. Okay?
Yeah, I do have an updated copy of the capital budget for your consideration.
I was just gonna ask, because I know last year you had brought one in, so happy to. I know some things have been completed and there's some that got deferred, so.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
for example, under the flat roof repair, which is the area on the south of the building that not failing, but it is at the end of its life. Still may be able to do it here, but we don't know if we'll get it. We don't know what the budget number will be. These are intended to be safe line items rather than. So hopefully it'll be a little bit less than that. The other thing, of course, the other big line item is our regular replacement of heat pumps. That's a 30,000 line item for 2 heat pumps. We're waiting for pricing on that. So depending upon where that is and what budget numbers we get or proposals we get on the roof area, those might actually go out of the 2026 budget and come to 2025, assuming that there are funds available. And the only other big item for this year is the repaving of the front walk and the elimination of the steps at the front entrance. We have a line item of $7,500, which is probably pretty accurate, although there is an additional approximately $3,000 that go for relocating some of those bricks. Next year, we have, in addition to those items, we're hoping to do something with the main entrance, the $30,000 line there, as well as other things inside the building. So there's those numbers, 96 and 140,000, they cover, some of that covers the same territory, but there's considerable uncertainty. This is kind of this has all of our expectations about big line items. Citing
Thanks,
the
Doug.
caveat that we don't know about it, we don't know.
If it hasn't broken yet, you don't know about it, right?
Yeah. Although there is money in here for things that we're pretty sure will break within. So any other questions? I will offer one other thing, that in the last couple of years in particular, town is really good with us at Community Center about building some capital money so that we were able to plan and start doing this. Proactive basis, the active triage kind of better in any regard. I would also offer that.
Thank you.
So
You'll still get a budget even if you don't compliment it.
yeah, no, I understand.
I'm just kidding. Thank you. It is nice to hear that, though.
Yeah, and thank you, Doug, for all that you do. I mean, you're there morning, noon, and night, constantly answering emails, phone calls. But we do appreciate everything that you, Larry, and now Jim and Anita as the liaison do for the community center. I was over there this morning and I was showing Bob Schaefer the multi-purpose room, the gym, for their upcoming event for next week, because they're renting the gym for an entire week. Which brings revenue into, the community center. And we're very grateful for that. And one of his comments was, the kitchen obviously needs some work, and we all know that, but they're going to work around it. But they're very appreciative of everything that everybody does to keep that building available and a focal point for the community. So thank you.
Welcome. Dax was there at the gym this morning and he got those 2 heat pumps in there.
Good. Yeah, it was nice and cool when I was in there this morning. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
But no, Meg, to your earlier suggestion, I would agree if you pull that capital out and then just leave some miscellaneous and, equipment in there for them and building improvements just for their operating side. I think that'll be fine. Tom and Greg should be here shortly.
Actually, fire is
I was going to
next.
say, yeah, John's probably doing.
You can't talk from there.
Yeah.
Get up to the podium.
Podium.
What one are we on now?
Or did you want to wait for Blake or you're?
No.
doing it?
So
Okay. So we don't actually have anything.
Oh, okay, fine.
There really isn't anything,
Oh,
other
actually,
than
you
the
guys
capital.
do have some lines now, but they're more on the town end. So,
Maintenance and stuff like
uh,
that.
Yeah, you guys, I think, have been allocating insurance money certain ways with a different account structure than you used to have, which is fine.
Cleaning.
And
So
then-
the contract requires a 3% increase every year. And as long as that you plug that in, we're fine. We don't need any additional funds outside of the contract. The only other issue for us is the fire truck, and we've kind of been on that ad nauseum. The current information we're getting from suppliers is that it's a 3 years out, and it's probably going to, there's been a thing that's happened nationally. There's been a big consolidation. Some private equity firms consolidated all the fire truck manufacturing capacity in our country. So they have the market by the rear end. So we essentially have been told that the new truck, the one we're buying now, is under 800,000. The new one's going to be about $1.3 million, $1.5 million, because they have no price competition. So I would present $1.5 million as a cap, more than likely, or at least a reasonable number for this next truck. And then the 3-year time frame would force us to probably make the purchase in 2026, realizing that the capital outlay doesn't occur until it's delivered. But that's the reality of the marketplace right now. So that's really all I have, unless somebody has questions. I think we've been going along pretty well, Meg. I haven't seen, Blake hasn't shared with me exactly where we're at on your expenditures relative to the contract expenditures. I don't think we've asked you for too much, but
I actually sent them to him recently, maybe 2
Okay.
weeks ago. He had sent me a summary of 24 and I sent him back just this expenses thus far in 25. But yes, there was one larger fire truck maintenance, which I would assume is yearly. Our expense lines for that area are doing fine. So
okay.
with
Well, then I would
public
think you'd probably
safety
be okay to,
expenses, I think just the NIPSCO, that's a newer building. Hopefully its costs won't be terrible, but I think I know the lights go on their own, but the air and heat, I think we're kind of in a good routine.
Mhm.
Mark got the maintenance schedule set up. All of that was unknown because it's a new building. So I'll be looking at those lines again. I should have brought them today, but as far as I knew, they were doing fine. So with
Okay.
what we budgeted.
yeah.
And we may need to, we'll see what,
Yeah, we don't influence
Actually
those numbers other
costing,
than
but-
opening the doors, but whatever, if there's anything you need from us, let us know.
No, I think the other line items were like the cleaning services. We're under contract with Lakeshore for the HVAC, servicing it twice a year, preventive maintenance and that, and those are all budgeted in. So I think we're good to go.
I'm not going to be able to stick for the whole rest of more than likely. I looked through Tom's numbers, and I know you worked with him on that. Tree removal, do we have a place for that? Or I know that's been pretty significant.
We do. This year, I believe it was at 40,000. It was at 50,000 the year
See it
before.
in here. Is it in here?
It's in one of the funds.
Oh, okay. I didn't
It's
see.
probably more in the capital.
I didn't print all the pages, but
Yeah.
The ones you sent me? I have them. John, do you want to look?
no,
at them?
not in there. Oh, for this year? Or I think
Yeah.
it means for on what
Remind me what the
Uh,
expected date is for the current fire. It's moved now into the fall.
here's fire right here.
We just need probably month and a half, 2 months for Carl to get the paperwork ready for the loan. So we just want to make sure that we're responsive for whatever the new deadline is going to be, so.
Okay, so I do have fire in front of me. I didn't print it for everybody, but we adopted 49,806 and we're at 35,198. So there's some fire department supplies left. The insurance is a tiny bit over what we budgeted. Electric and gas is fine, water's fine. Other charges for public safety building are 5,600 out of 6,500. So that's what I'll probably look at, what's going in there. And then fire equipment maintenance is 1,000 over. So we may just need to increase those slightly. And then your questions about salt. We
Trees,
know
he was
there's-
asking.
Oh, trees, sorry, trees. I think it might be.
So
So tree maintenance in 2209, 533, 69. That's page 6.
EDIT fund.
Yep. There was, how is that possible? We budgeted
40?
27,000 and we're at 40. Oh, because we put last year's. So see how there was 50,000 budgeted last year. We only used 27,000.
Mhm.
I did not encumber that, so we may need to do a,
Additional.
yes, an additional.
That's because,
That is in the fund from last year.
right,
But to your point, I guess we need to talk with Tom and assess what we actually need.
well, typically, one year we had 50,000 for 2024, then we had 40,000 for this year. I would, in parks, we used to have 5 to 10,000 in parks as well for trees. I think between park and town, we should probably have a minimum of $50,000 for trees.
Okay.
So between the two funds.
the tree board doesn't have it. It's part.
They don't have a
they
budget.
don't.
Yeah, so it'll be a little cleaner once, we bring budget in there. But thanks for bringing that up.
Yep.
Okay,
Water.
street department or water wants to go first? We had down street at 12, but any takers? What do you want to do, Mark? Is
Since, yeah.
You
we'll
ready?
let Diane back. Let's do
that
water.
okay, Tom? If water goes first? Okay. So water,
Get yourself to the
So-
podium.
so water are the longer ones that have the yellow 20. So next had come MVH, so we're gonna switch that around. So it's 2 pages. They say water on the left and they have yellow. They're the longest, the landscape. Yeah, you've
I
got
feel
it.
like you're speaking to kindergarten.
Just a lot of
Long
pages.
pieces.
Thanks to you guys for working on these. So, yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, we're looking at an overall, just to raise our total budget 3%. Just for the cost of things going up. We don't have any big changes.
So Trista, Diane had explained to me that she noted on the side the percentage that they increased the line items by.
Okay.
And then the town had explained how in our spreadsheet, if we are gonna increase 4% for all salaries, so we'll just adjust if Diane already did that and if our spreadsheet will take it into account as well.
Fire protection was another one that we bumped up
50%.
30,000. And we should have that revenue coming in anyway.
So fire protection is second page. You bumped that up 10,000. Okay.
50%.
Fire protection,
Hydrants.
fire hydrants.
Next year, will we complete all hydrant painting next year?
Yep.
So that next round, we'll complete all of them then?
Yep.
Good. I mean, they,
2-year project, right?
Noticeable, and then
Yeah,
they
oh,
put
yeah.
the flag on it. I mean,
But we
Nice.
have flags for all of them. We put them
Yeah.
on when we have time, but yeah, they all have new flags. Yeah, they do look really nice
Yeah.
when they're done
and noticeable,
and
which
noticeable,
will
right?
help the fire department, right?
Yeah.
Police.
And what else? I think that was it, wasn't it? And then, Oh, and vehicle
And you have
maintenance,
to
yeah.
talk up there because otherwise they can't record it. Oh, okay.
And we increased our vehicle maintenance to, we went up like 5,000 in that, yeah.
Greg, in 218, I know we spoke about this morning where you guys are working on getting new logo and some clothing and that. You don't have anything in clothing on 218? Are you guys going to add that in?
That's so funny. I just noticed
What is
that.
Oh, yeah, we pull ours out of safety equipment,
Okay.
which has 26, 25.
I see it. Very good. Thank you.
And we usually,
So can we just delete the clothing line then out of the list
yeah.
for what little extra ink and paper that takes up? You'll just keep it in safety always? Okay.
And
think
then it
that's it.
looks like for taxes, gross income, we did not budget anything last year. And it was budgeted in 23 and 24. We can leave that if we put anything there.
Well,
I can look at that.
but it's not an expense though.
Right. Why is it? I guess, is this, that need to be there anymore? Right? It's in the wrong, yeah. Maybe it was used at some point.
Yeah,
In the
I think
past.
it's an old holdover that just, in the
Think
other
that-
cleanup, a couple little tiny things that weren't bothering anybody, never really got addressed, but
Okay, so maybe that can go. The only other thought, and Diane and I are I'm hoping to go to the civic conference in the fall, which is our software. Because to do online billing, they have a whole new portal. The bad part is they can do building permits, they can do everything except we are now paying for the iWork. But to get online payments and everything, I'll talk with Trista. I'm not sure how realistic it is to get it implemented for next year. That would be a big goal, hope of mine. So that would include water, they would pay a portion like they do now for Civic. So just something to keep in mind as we do this. And then I think after last year, you guys had straightened out your computer software with that change and the new stuff. Okay,
Mhm.
it looks good, so. I mean. Mhm. Right. Right. Yeah,
what would
so
that be, like an email bill? Yeah. Yeah,
Diane spends a lot of time putting together. Right. I think, yeah, I'm not familiar with how the emails, if we don't have a good email for everybody, do we still have, so we just need to look into it, I think. Yeah, I don't know, are there stipulations that we can require that? Or if we don't have a portal for them to log into, that's just my concern, but
I'll double check. I don't know that you can require someone to do electronic.
but if we could cut them in half, you would still have to, we just need to figure out how the half that are signed up are different from the half of the bills that are generated within Civic. And I don't know those answers, but we'll work on it. Yeah.
While we have Greg up there, we met this morning, we talked a little bit about capital for the water department. One of the things Greg wants to increase for 2026, the truck is now at 65,000. We want to bump it to 75,000 just because of the cost of not only the truck, but also the equipment that'll need to go on it. And then, Greg, you want to discuss the 250,000 in capital that I know we talked about those valves, but maybe we could reduce that.
Yeah, yeah, we were looking, when we first did that, I think it was a 5-year plan. We were looking at doing a main extension for the dead end of Oriole up to Ridgemore through the
Mhm.
alleyway that's up there. That's not a priority. It was just something that we could do going forward, you know, and in the future. So we were thinking about maybe just lowering from the 250 and going to about maybe like 100,000 and putting that in so we can do some valving on Oriole Trail, on the main line that comes from our booster station to our water tower. There's literally like one valve in between here and there. So if we were to ever have a problem, we're gonna have to shut off multiple valves in order to isolate certain areas. So we're wanting, the more valves you have, the less you can, you know, the more you can isolate areas. So we're wanting to add some valves on that main line. So we could do that, switch gears, and that's more important than, you know, tying in Ridgemore to Oriole. That's basically just, I was explaining to Mark this morning, the reason why it's been a topic for a while, is because if something were to happen on Lakeshore Drive with the water, 1618 wouldn't have any water. We would lose that whole area because that's the only way that they're fed is from Lakeshore Drive. If we can backdoor this main in the back, we'll have fire protection and they would have water. So that, I mean, that there is some urgency there, but not, you know, I mean, it's been that way for 100 years. So, but just in the future, just something we can think about doing to, you know, that's what we're talking about.
Yep. And then in 27, they have water tank painting. We're hopeful that it'll come in much lower than that, but we wanted to hold that at the 250 just as a safe number. And closer they get a more accurate number, then we can always change it later.
Yeah.
And then 28, 29, we don't have anything planned at this time.
And maybe we could put Ridgemore and
Right,
Oriole back in at that time.
right. Yeah, we could add that in. All I have.
That's it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Diane, Austin, Greg. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Street soup. Man of the hour.
Okay, so streets, you're gonna want to go back. It's motor vehicle, so it's
Road and street.
go back 2 pages. It says 2 on the bottom. It's right under community center. Actually, wait a minute.
So
Okay.
Tom and I
Don't need this. This is something different.
Tom and I had an opportunity to meet this morning. Trista, one of the things Tom would like to do is Fund 211, which is oil. 211 has $400 in there for this year. We just want to remove that and put that 400 into other supplies, 214.
Mm-hmm.
So 214 will go from 8,000 to 8,400 next year. And then that'll be the fund that we would pay for oil out of. We'll just use it as other supplies. So just removing that 211, we'll no longer need
More
that.
flexibility.
Aside from that, we provided Meg some numbers. Salt. Tom and I spoke this morning. I know Meg and Tom spoke yesterday about it. He's good with reducing that sum to help balance our budget as we go into 26, but we feel strongly we need to leave at least $60,000 available for salt. There's two different funds that we pull from currently for salt. So as long as it's 60,000 between those two accounts, Tom can work within that. And then obviously with the understanding, we have a major winter storm that lasts for 2 weeks. We'll just have to come before the town council and ask for additional funding for salt.
Say such things.
It's in our future. So,
If it happens, you remember who said it.
Yeah.
yep, I'll take the blame.
With. Well, and the reason for that is usually we don't get the price of salt for this winter in August. So typically I put 600 ton in. So if for some reason that 600 ton was come back at $100 a ton, they haven't really paid. I think maybe 1 year we came close. But then that way that's 60,000. This year, I think I put in 400. So I don't know what the pricing is going to be out. But on the state purchase program that we use for salt, we're allowed 100, take us 480. And so that's kind of where these numbers. So if I was putting in 600, well, I was getting 720 tons at the $100 area or whatever. That's
So when you say you did 400 ton this year, do we have any in storage? Because we do, right? Because
Yeah,
we still
that's-
have
yeah. So
November,
like I said,
December.
typically I put in
Okay,
600. 600 is based on if I have almost nothing that's shop.
okay.
This year I probably got maybe 4. Start with. By my numbers this year are put in for.
Another area, if we need to reduce a few thousand to help save on the overall balancing of the budget is in their fuel line item. When you look at the projections from the previous years that were used, that, you know, we could reduce that some. They're at 20,000 right now.
Mhm.
But otherwise, we really can't think of any other areas that Tom has any room to cut from.
Excuse me.
Other than keeping everything at, you know, the range of 2025. And then obviously the normal increases for, you know, longevity, social security, the salaries and all that will get, you know, adjusted as Meg works on those. Trees, as we discussed earlier, if we can keep that at 50,000, it would be beneficial. We currently have a list of trees that Tom will be working with the tree contractors to get pricing on this fall. There's some oak trees identified already that need to be addressed. And then we have the random trees that just fall out of nowhere that we deal with all too often. And then we also have some tree canopies that we need to, you know, bring up the canopy in several areas and other stuff that's outside our normal reach that Tom will be contracting as well.
The only other thing with MVH is just as the paving project finishes up and those final pieces that were going to be paid from the operational, I just may come to both of you to figure that out. But I think,
Yeah, I think between street and alley repair, right-of-way maintenance, some of the common funds that we have that hopefully we have enough funds left in there to expenditures. But aside from that, Tom stressed this morning that he's pretty much, you know, content with just leaving things as is, except for the few things we discussed today.
thanks, Tom. Questions, anybody?
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, John.
Thanks. All right.
You're doing a good job.
So, Mark, do you want to go over police?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's talk about
two.
on the salary side, obviously, my salary is split between many departments, so I just assume handle that as you work on the salaries.
Mm-hmm.
The chief deputy marshal, I just penciled in the 4%, and then obviously it's going to be up to council what we decide just to be on the safe side. Same thing in the deputy marshals. Overtime, I kept at the 60,000. It may look like when you look at the actual that we're not using a lot of overtime, but bless you. You'll see this past weekend, we use quite a bit of overtime in the month of July. The summer is where we use a lot of our overtime. So that's not yet reflected in the numbers. Holiday pay, I've bumped that up some just because of the July 4th holiday lands up costing us more because everybody's working that day. So I had penciled in to cover that. The auxiliary police, I kept that the same. Longevity, we increased because of years of service. Office supplies, I kept it 1,000. Gas and diesel still at 20,000. Garage and motor supplies stayed at 5,000. Police department supplies, I bumped that up 1,000. As Greg stated, I'm finding everything is just becoming much more expensive. Police clothing remained at 10,000. Police communications, 15,000, stayed the same. That line item for 340, that auxiliary insurance. We'll just, Meg, have to probably talk about that one. That's that workman comp liability insurance for the reserves.
Right.
So, and then vehicle insurance, you guys will pencil in what you feel is appropriate there. The police equipment maintenance kept at 15,000. Software maintenance remained at 6. Education and training, I just bumped up a little bit to 1,500. Police electronics, same thing, Trista. I would like to take police electronics, combine it with police equipment. So get rid of 442 and just have 20,000 and 444. So that'll give us $20,000 a year for equipment. Software licenses at 15, and then miscellaneous at $2,500.
Mark, will you remind me, so the one at the bottom, number 451, is your base radio, the 15,000. And then on page 1, 322 police communications, what do we pay from there?
So the 451 used to be base radio. We changed it to police software licenses. That base radio can come out of there.
Radios are 322.
Yes, 322 covers our phones,
Oh,
office phones, cell phones, radios.
but your radio contract is in that line.
Yep. And then the 451 is our software licenses for our online police training and also our software licenses for the case management, our records management system,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
holds in the cloud all of our police reports. That's the 15,000.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Mark, remind me, is that cloud separate from cloud that we,
Yes, it's
Yeah.
totally, it's Caliber Interact. It's all web-based, cloud-based storage, and it's totally separate from any other platform that we have.
Be secure, separate, right?
Yep. It's the same one that all of LaPorte County law enforcement is utilizing. So,
I do think, and it may not be a this year thing, but I do think we should consider the pros and cons to the other cloud for accounting and
found.
our, yeah, versus server-based, which is what we used to have. And I need to continue researching the cost differential. I don't see huge reasons aside from K plus getting into our computers, et cetera, which they may still be able to do even if we're server-based. I don't know. But just something to talk about because I do think we're spending a good amount of money for the cloud that nobody works remotely. So I just need to,
I think that's something that K Plus can help us with because they had some recommendations before and then they may be able to assist us in obtaining some quotes.
I'm not saying we need to no longer use the cloud, but I do think we should at least understand,
Right.
you know, why we think we might want to keep it or not and what the cost differential is for other options. So, okay.
Hasn't there been a discussion of replacing expensive police radios or what,
Yes.
the radios?
We,
Yes.
we have that in the
Yes.
Capitol.
Oh, we do, okay.
We just received 2 weeks ago a Kenwood portable radio that we're doing a testing and evaluation on currently to see if it will meet our requirements. And then we'll move forward with starting to purchase these in the near future. But definitely that's on the horizon. As part of our capital, Meg and I will go through the cars again just to make sure that we have, we just financed the new car this year, the 2025. We've got the lease payment on the 2024. In 2026, I would like to, if we can afford it, get the license plate reader cameras. 3 of them at $4,000 each is the annual maintenance, so $12,000. And that could replace, I'm sorry, not replace, but the ATV purchase that's on there for 2026, the 10,000 needs to go to 12,000. They've gotten more expensive as well.
Will the license plate reader tie in informationally with Michigan City?
Nationwide, yes.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be the same vendor that all the surrounding communities are using.
Nice.
I was going to propose 4 of them, but now we only need 3 because Michigan City is in the process of installing a new one at Beach Walk on Lakeshore Drive. So anybody that goes east of Beach Walk has no other choice but to come through Long Beach. So that license plate reader will capture the readings there. So the camera I was going to place at stop 13 is no longer needed. We just need a camera on Chastleton, stop 31, and then on Moore Road, I wanted to start with one there near Mount Clair area as you come into the town. So I'm proposing 3 of them at $4,000 each. And then if we need to add in the future, that's something that we can discuss. That's something I'll be bringing in front of the council probably this fall for discussion.
and that's a yearly cost, right?
That's the 4,000 per camera is for the camera, the maintenance, and then the storage of all the video to the cloud.
Have you had any pushback from residents on that idea?
I have not received any. I'm sure there were some out there that feel it's a big brother watching type thing, but every community that you enter into, even Graham Beach, Michigan, to our east, Grand Beach just recently had several installed in the last year. They're all around us. Carwick and 12, as you come over the tracks there, there's one on 12, there's one at Springland in Carwick. So they're all around us. Anywhere you travel, you're going to get captured on a license plate reader.
I think we've only mentioned it once or twice at a meeting, so I don't think it's
Yeah.
I
not
even realized.
been discussed.
Just a little bit of education on why they're useful and what they're used for is helpful. If people know that and they understand that, the importance of that part, and then it's not just to be watching them, then they usually
Yeah.
are better about it.
I think the only pushback that I mean, and not the pushback here in different type of community, but the community that I lived in for about 35 years, which was very liberal and welcoming, they are pushing back with lawsuits because ICE and other departments are subpoenaing
Always.
records and trying to use those platforms. So they're pushing back on pulling, using their license plate readers in that community, or not wanting to turn those over, but that is not the issue here. But I agree, once you start
There you go.
talking about it more in the community, why it's helpful to Mark and the Michigan City as well.
And then anything that either I didn't discuss or had not supplied numbers on, I would just recommend that what was said at 2025 be budgeted for 2026. The same goes for the other departments for street as well. We just tried to give you the recommended, either increase or decrease items. Before.
That public safety fund,
Mhm.
that structure can remain the same, right? Interest will be the last interest on the public safety building bond until the property tax then kicks in to replace the geo bond the year after. And then you discussed salary a little bit already and the equipment line there.
Yeah, we have the new contract, which Meg is aware of, for our police body cameras. The annual payment now is $10,200 annually, which is down from the $15,650 that it was previously. Couple other items that I just had for open discussion were the community center we talked about with Doug earlier. As we all know, those repairs are getting more costly over there, so we're planning for that. The police vehicles, Meg and I will talk about. Lakeshore Mechanical, we're now under maintenance agreement with them for this building and the building out back. I did submit to Meg on the building maintenance for the town hall was at 30,000. I'm recommending that we bump that to 35,000. I found an area on the northeast corner of the roof that I have photos of that is in poor condition upstairs. That's going to need to be addressed. I don't yet know how we're going to address it until I get a roofing contractor up there to look at it. So this building continues to cost us annually. As you can see above us, one of the condenser lines on the air conditioning sprung a leak, and now we have drywall in here that needs to be repaired on the ceiling as well. So I'll be scheduling that here in the following months to get that fixed as well. K Plus, we probably need to look at their contract just to see that we have enough on the IT side. Also, our Microsoft licenses have gone up. For example, my email account is more costly every month now just because they needed more storage on it. Somehow I must send a lot of emails. And there's other email accounts that we've added that we did not have before to other boards and commissions. So we may want to increase that by a good probably $1,000 to $1,500 a year because we're paying more now monthly for some of that additional services.
Has anybody done a recent quick eval just to make sure that there's no email addresses we need to make inactive?
I did an entire audit and I shut down, I think, 6 of them. So, yep. Yeah, we recently,
I get so many clerk emails. I could delete
Right. Yeah.
And I don't.
But no, Trista brought up a good point. I had emailed K Plus and I had asked for an audit of all the town authorized email accounts, and there were about a half a dozen that, like on the fire side, one of their deputy chiefs has never used. And I'm like, if you haven't used it in the last 2 years, we're just gonna shut it down. That's exactly what we did. So yeah, there were a couple that we were able to deactivate, and most of them are at $15 a month, but still, it's about $100 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And they, I'm missing my word. They kept the storage though, right?
yes. Yep, just deactivated the license.
Archived. They archived it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, they just deactivate the license and reassign it to somebody else.
Matt Carstrand, APC, does it. I mean, you could
Yeah.
literally deactivate. Given up trying to ask
Right.
him, and now I just have.
Georgetta tries, so it didn't go.
I might have shut hers down too, because she had no activity for over a year.
To it.
Yeah,
So if you want to
look at that one.
get rid of Matt's, because we've just now given up and we just send him. Also, I didn't know we're spending
Okay.
$15 a month to keep that, so
Yeah.
I apologize. I didn't know that. So that's good information for me to have that.
Mhm. Yeah, because we pay for those each month. To
Okay.
have them available to the people on committees and boards, and I'm a,
Somebody like Larry Brown uses his, I don't know that he even has.
no, and most of the boards that are advisory in nature, like the community center and that, we don't have town email accounts for them because we're not mandated to, save information from those. We have our minutes and that, but otherwise there isn't like confidential information that we share with those board members and that, or committee members. I checked with the town attorney and he was good with that. It's the APC, BZA, budget and finance, the more important ones that we have town email accounts for all of those individuals. So the other thing, we renewed a 3-year contract with, on our big ticket items with Republic. So we know what those fees are for the budget. Meg and I talked this morning about the health insurance, liability insurance, building insurance. We're waiting for general insurance to kind of give us an idea moving into 2026. So we'll have a better idea on that. And then Meg and I would just ask with Meg, once she gets the worksheets with the final proposals for 2026, I'll sit down with her and go through them because I work so closely with all the other department heads just to make sure that maybe, things are as we discussed today and no oversights in that. And then I appreciate everything that Meg and Trista have been doing to help us get this ready for 2026.
Well, and I've still got some work to do on those items that you discussed. When Laurel had been here, Chris is going to talk through with me the pros and cons of splitting things up, such as insurance by department.
Right.
We did not budget that way, yet we've booked the expenses those ways. So I'll have to do a little bit of moving around and just deciding, do we care how much a certain department is costing for insurance, Social Security, or, so those items I need a little bit of work.
I would recommend, I know we had, I think it was 50,000 in the town administration line item this year. Trista, as you know, engineering costs every year seem to creep up on us, or projects come up that we didn't budget for on engineering and that. So maybe if we had some engineering line item that we could work with. I'm just looking at the CCMG project for Lakeshore Drive. There's a lot of unknowns there. I wish I had some answers today for some of those things, but I know this fall we'll probably have a better idea of projections on probably a 3-year phase of doing Lakeshore Drive, just because we're going to want to utilize as much CCMG funding from the state every year. And it's probably going to take an application of like $1 million for 3 years to complete Lakeshore Drive. In fact, that was probably one of the biggest complaints I heard this past weekend, the 4th of July weekend, is now the paving's done, Lakeshore Drive's next, right? And I'm like, well, it is. It's just getting the funds and the plan ready to go. It's not as easy as just going through Lakeshore Drive and milling off 2 inches and putting down a new surface. There's going to be a lot of work there. So that CCMG is probably the top priority for the town and probably our biggest expenditure moving forward. So we just need to kind of plan for that one, either from, stormwater, riverboat, all the areas, MVH, where we're going to pull from. And that'll be for the next 3 years, I would say. So under capital, that's probably the largest capital item for the next 3 years is Lakeshore Drive.
Mark, just so you know, the engineering for the current project, I have managed to keep it together. I also have a spreadsheet going of engineering versus what's being paid from the state funds in that CCMG fund. So it's not a expense line per se, but now it's.
Right.
So I think I think because we have to pull it from different funds, it makes it more difficult to say we're going to spend 50,000 out of this expense line just for engineering. But tonight, it's a thought.
So every time I ask the question of the engineers, on $1 million project, what do we anticipate for, construction management and engineering fees and that, they always tell me 15%. Well, I always find that it's probably been about 20. Because there's all these unknowns, like in the CCMG project currently, we had unknowns that came up on Roslyn Trail, unknowns that came up on Larchmont, and all these things were, we didn't know what was under the surface of the road until we started milling. And then when we found there was nothing but gravel and no more milling underneath there, then we had to, midstream change plans, add to the project, became more engineering costs. Meg had budgeted, I think, 200 for this year. We anticipated 180, so hopefully that 200 will be fine this year. But I'm just forecasting the next 3 years. Engineering's a big expense. We don't have a town engineer other than the contract one we have, and we just need to plan accordingly.
So it's not a matter of them going outside their contract.
No.
It's simply that some other
Unforeseen things that we encounter.
are surface.
Well, and also, are we heavy on engineering in year one, or is it, once they start paving, is the engineering following each portion of Lakeshore Drive? Or is it's heavier probably in the planning stages potentially? So.
Then there's, the construction management aspect of it. They're having to hire subcontractors to come out and test the asphalt that we're putting down to make sure that we're getting the correct thickness and the correct rating of the asphalt and that. So there's all those not hidden costs, but like upfront costs as the project's going. We had drainage issues on this one that we encountered in that. We've got a change order coming up in front of the council on Monday. Thankfully, it's not that expensive, a couple $1,000s, but we were able to stay within our budget. We removed a few things in the CCMG project, like there was 2 dry wells that we removed and realized that, hey, we can go without them and direct the water to the different dry wells. So that saved us. So the crews are doing the best they can to stay within budget. It's just those unforeseen things that come up that, are unfortunate. And Lakeshore Drive is going to be that. When you look at Lakeshore Drive, that one's going to have a lot of unforeseen things coming up because that road is old. And I'm told it's built like 3 different ways. And I think we're going to encounter some things there. So I would just plan for the worst for the next 3 years with CCMG. So.
I'm going to be out of town.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah. But aside from that, those are the only major things that I can think of. Like I said, we talked about our big ticket items, the ones that cost us the most. And then Meg, I, and Trista will work closely over the next couple of weeks to
Yeah.
kind of go over this before we send the final draft to the council.
Right. And then I just handed out just the clerk budget. And I need to do a little more work, like I said, but I've got my salary, the clerical assistant. I'll decide if I want to leave any cushion in case I end up deciding that I need some help. But right now I'm going to keep going as I am. I do have Mark and I and Trista. I've got a sheet that I did this morning on longevity and the HSA. And then, but I didn't exactly go through all the departments and do them properly yet. So I know mine is correct at 2,100, but I didn't do the rest yet. HSA, again, we're coming back to insurance and perf and Social Security on how that's going to be, if we're going to keep it all here, if we're going to spread it out by all the departments. I think I had gotten rid of that stationery and printing last year. Official records seems to fluctuate based on the fact that Dan and I are trying to give them updates as opposed to doing a yearly code update at the end of the year. For example, we're going to do another update, send them all of the ordinances that have been, so they're doing the online portion sooner than once a year. So that cost just kind of comes and goes depending on how many changes council makes and when we get that to them and then when they bill us. So it's not exactly once a year anymore. 1 year might have less, or it might be a timing thing of when they actually get it updated for us. So that's kind of that part of that line item. Supplies, I kept the same. Accounting, I'll look into. I know we have it in various departments, but I kept that the same for now. The next couple you'll see are just all the same. I lessened our printing a little bit because we don't seem to be using a full 2,500. The workman's comp is again part of the insurance. Computer software maintenance, I bumped up a tiny bit, but I'm going to again analyze and think through if we're going to try to do credit cards, etc. Diane and I just listened to a webinar about this new portal. They've been building it. They're just rolling it out. So I'd love to say I have answers on it, but I don't on what it could cost. I know when we looked into their utility billing module last year that council gave me approval for, it was about $2,500 for the year. So worst case, if we went with that as opposed to this new portal. But again, that's all still what I'm looking into. So I bumped that up slightly. Bank fees, subscriptions and dues. I think we must have spread out some of my other costs that are hitting the credit card, all of our IT stuff. So I'll kind of look at that. I just kept it at 15 for now. That's all on that first page. Second page has a lot of the items that, again, all the insurance that needs to be looked at. So you'll see many blanks, but I kept legal where it's at. The town council, I don't know if we want to bump that up just in case.
You know, I just a quick discussion, and I mean, Colleen's here, and I guess we can talk about it, but I know that a quick discussion with Joy has been that having Mark here as administrator has certainly cleared our job tremendously. I mean, it
Well,
doesn't
just the
mean that we
preparation.
wouldn't look at it, but I mean, it's
that's
a discussion we could probably have with the council, but looking at
I presented to the budget,
what's happened.
I presented to the HR committee, like 3 different scenarios of giving the council $100, $200, and $300 increase for the year. So even if, the 5 of them at $300 each was only $1,500. So we presented that at the HR committee meeting for discussion and that. So that, real quick on that administration one, Meg, at the bottom there, that 399. I think that was a great idea, that 50,000. And as you and Trista, crunch going into 26, if we can even increase that some, that's kind of like our lifeline there
Yeah,
to
that's
help
our
us. So if that can even,
Emergency row.
if that can be bumped to 75, that'd be great. But if you can't do it, you can't. But that really was helpful this year with a couple of things that, like if the council comes to us, like with the survey across the street that Meg was asked about most recently, I think it was like $9,000 and Meg recommended it could come out of there. It's just nice to have that kind of as a, catch-all. So whatever you can do to increase that would be wonderful.
Yeah, and that, that decision is an example of where once we see our more localized prediction for you of what the property tax revenue is going to be, that'll be the first place that would apply.
So Mark, I did change the building maintenance to 35 for now, but
We'll spend it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
okay. You'll see that repairs reimbursed, the 56,998. That community center project, Trista, is totally completed, the insurance claim, so that's nice.
Nice.
Yeah, any questions, anybody? Still some work to do, but I'm happy with, we'll talk to Park Board, hopefully get their numbers from them. And then I know Paul had presented us with that, which I still have that list of capital items that are their wish list. I'm assuming they can work on that and we can relate that with our capital plan and what they think is feasible. I know he's looking into kind of like a GoFundMe, but it's more for something like a municipality. They have an example of another town for the pickleball tennis courts. So I am interested to hear. I know Paul and Janice Brown and some other individuals are actively working on options for that. As we all know, our capital plan for 26 is short. And if you took out the tennis rebuild, then it's more in line. So I think council will have decisions to make. I think it's going to depend on engineering and CCMG and what takes priority for the town. Because right now 26 is very short. We are going to have to look at that.
Yep.
But once we hear from Parks, I think that would be good. So I will follow up with Paul and Zach and see what can work for them. If we can, either they can talk with Mark and I can relay it, or.
Yeah, I think at this point, if they can just talk with the two of you and get numbers for you and I to get into the workbook.
Yep.
Then the next mini meeting, which I think we already had scheduled. Like we kind of drafted out the dates before. Then we can look through, kind of see where things have balanced out. We'll have the better revenue prediction at that time. And probably I would think by the end of that meeting, have a pretty solid draft of a proposed budget, and then have a workshop with council if you want to, or just pass it on to them, however it is. You're going to get them the rest of the information.
And I shared with Meg too on going back to our budget on 119. I've eliminated an employee on the weekends, the police clerk part-time. So Trista, you'll be very proud of me. I removed $11,000 from the budget. So the first negative you've seen from me in a long time. So,
Now we close on that.
Yeah. So that's an $11,000 reduction to the police department budget.
Oh, yeah, where it says 0.
Yep.
Yep.
That's a first.
I'm going to highlight it just.
I know. Yeah. It just made sense that I'm no longer having an employee here on Saturdays. We just are closing the town hall down on Saturdays now.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.